Sumeru was great, but the amount of information we received was extreme. It took me a week to be able to gather my thoughts and try to think of an answer to the countless doubts that this chapter dropped on us, and even as I was writing the script for this video, those doubts were just screaming in my head. But let's just start the video with my usual disclaimer. This is a theory video. I used information available in the game to come up with my own theories and guesses, which do not represent the official lore of the game, unless they get confirmed later in the game itself. Talking about my theories being confirmed in the game, let's quickly check what I got right and what I got wrong in my previous videos. I actually got the Dendro hypothesis name right back in August, which I think is my biggest victory so far. Also, the tarot card, the lovers, that I associated with the Dendro Archon showed that Eve needed to pick between the Tree of Knowledge and the Tree of Life, and if you think about it, Nahida had to choose between Irminsul's knowledge and Rukkhadevata's life, so that kinda fit as well. I certainly got the Dendro and Hydra Archons names wrong, but I think I both overthought it and I just wanted the leaks to be wrong. I'm still hoping for the Pyro and Khaenri'ah Archons names though. I also got Kusanali's creation right when I said that she was born of a piece of the tree that Rukkhadevata was. I also said that the giant tree was going to be the core of the Akasha system and that Rukkhadevata's consciousness was gonna be in there. It seems that I was right all along about Dottore's constellation being the Plague Doctor mask and not the heresy one, and I'll talk about the gnosis and the chessboard in a future video. Now let's talk about the new truths of Teyvat that we just found out. First, it has been confirmed by the staff of Scarlet Sand that the Celestial Sphere is actually an illusion, and that the Celestial Nails came down all at once to fix a worldwide ley line disorder that was letting inside Teyvat poison from the abyss. The description of this weapon is basically Rukkhadevata telling King Deshret a story she learned from Irminsul. A deduction that we can make from Sumeru's story is that the Lord of Flowers may have decided to die because of the Archon War, so taking herself out of the picture, the Archon could have been more easily decided between King Deshret and Rukkhadevata. I mean, that's the most plausible theory I can come up with anyway. As a consequence, another deduction is that King Deshret gave in to madness and sought and brought forbidden knowledge from outside into Teyvat to bring the Lord of Flowers, the one he loved, back to life. Also, considering what the staff of Scarlet Sand says, it seems that he didn't care about creating a paradise for the people anymore. His new desire was to create a paradise for himself where he could live and talk together with the two friends like they used to. King Deshret then realized that this forbidden knowledge was poison to the people and to the world since it created the Withering, Elazar, and drove some people crazy. So Rukkhadevata built temples all over the desert and she imbued them with Dendro, the element of life, to suppress this poison. She managed for a while, but the poison started spreading again and King Deshret decided to sacrifice himself to put an end to the forbidden knowledge. As we learned from Havria's story, I think King Deshret sacrificed himself in the hope that the immense power that flows when a god is slain could have been able to completely erase the existence of the forbidden knowledge. Considering how both King Deshret and Rukkhadevata were gods of wisdom, and the latter an avatar of Irminsul itself, they would have certainly known that dying wouldn't have definitively erased anything. Anyway, even his sacrifice was not enough, so years later, Rukkhadevata used nearly all of her powers to restore Irminsul and suppress the forbidden knowledge, turning herself into a little child as a consequence. Now here's the problem. We are led to believe that she actually managed to completely solve the problem, but she didn't at all. Elazar and the Withering kept existing ever since. It may mean, and this is just my interpretation, that King Deshret absorbed into himself the forbidden knowledge and used his sacrifice to destroy it along with him. Then Rukkhadevata used all of her power to cure Irminsul, but without her realizing it, a small amount of forbidden knowledge managed to seep into her consciousness, which was connected to Irminsul, from which it slowly leaked ever since. Another extremely important piece of information we received is that the 7 Archons were summoned to Khaenri'ah by the Heavenly Principles, except for Rukkhadevata. I honestly thought that she died in Khaenri'ah, especially because the Akasha Terminal told Paimon that Kusanali was found within some scorched ruins, but now I have so many doubts about that, I don't even know what to think anymore. Anyway, her task was to protect Irminsul, so she went on a journey with a few sages. When she arrived at the entrance of this dark cave, she went in alone and she found Irminsul already corrupted by forbidden knowledge, something that doesn't belong to this world and that comes from the very bottom of the abyss, so basically from the gates of the master domain Teyvat. Forbidden knowledge is poisonous because it's a truth that this world doesn't understand, so it rejects it, causing bad phenomena like the Withering as a consequence, and it could potentially destroy the entire world. Since her powers alone weren't enough, she borrowed the people's dreams, the fruits of human wisdom, and created the Akasha. Then she probably did what King Deshret did in the past. She amassed the forbidden knowledge into herself, and with her power and the Akasha power combined, she tried to cure Irminsul. She later realized that her consciousness was directly connected with Irminsul, so this forbidden knowledge became part of her entire existence. Now the only way to erase the forbidden knowledge would have been to erase her existence, but since it would be a paradox for her existence to erase itself, she snapped the newest and purest branch of Irminsul and created a new version of herself, Buer, who is the same as Rukkhadevata but an entirely different being altogether. So Buer's task was basically to erase Rukkhadevata from existence within Irminsul. I guess that those sages that followed Rukkhadevata to the cave later found the newborn Kusanali and brought her back to Sumeru. I won't talk about how stupid it sounds for the sages to take it on Kusanali as if her birth was what caused Rukkhadevata's death. I won't even talk about how stupid it was for them to keep Kusanali prisoner for 500 years because she wasn't as good as Rukkhadevata, and how stupid it was to use a gnosis from another nation to create a new god from a puppet they didn't even know, who's clearly got more than a few screws loose, like literally since he's a machine, even though it would have been so much easier to just guide Kusanali for those 500 years and she would have become as good and powerful, if not even better and more powerful than Rukkhadevata herself. Like I said in another video, if someone is called a sage in Teyvat, it's just useless to expect them to be smart at this point. We now have confirmation that the Archon War was a law proclaimed by the Heavenly Principles, and it was supposed to be the Teyvat version of the Hunger Games, with the difference that there were only 7 sectors, the participants could leave for the Dark Seas and take themselves out of the competition, and some sectors, like Sumeru, didn't even have an Archon War since the gods died out by themselves. Kusanali herself says that the Archon War was just a game where a bunch of gods fought for 7 seats. Also, I'm starting to think that I was actually right when I said that the Archons died in Khaenri'ah or because of Khaenri'ah. They were all there except for Rukkhadevata, and she still died because of the forbidden knowledge from Khaenri'ah. The Cryo Archon must have died there because it would explain the Tsaritsa's behavioral change, and we already know that Makoto died there. We didn't know why she went to Khaenri'ah since she wasn't a fighter, but now we know that she simply didn't have a choice. I still believe the Pyro Archon either died or was fatally wounded in Khaenri'ah, and she is now in Natlan looking for a successor, either as a consciousness or as a dying god. The Hydro Archon, who knows, maybe they didn't agree with the Heavenly Principles version of justice and they were killed for it. But then Rex Lapis somehow went to Khaenri'ah even though he was fighting in the chasm and survived. And Barbatos, well, he's a living question mark to begin with, but the fact that he says,
"Ah, Traveler, we meet again." What? You don't remember me?
Makes me think he met the twins as they were trying to flee from Khaenri'ah. We also learned that Irminsul, the repository for all the information and memories of Teyvat, is a giant tree that lives beneath the surface in a massive underground cavern and it grows downwards, which brings back the fact that the master domain Teyvat is upside down. The ley lines are its roots and they absorb the memories of this world so that Irminsul can collect knowledge and wisdom. Here's my doubt. When Kusanali erased Rukkhadevata from existence, everybody completely forgot about her, except for the Traveler and I guess Paimon, but she made us believe that she forgot as well. Everything that she did in the past is now believed to be Kusanali's doing. What troubles me is that her existence was also retroactively erased. Every book replaced Rukkhadevata with Kusanali, and we have direct proof of it thanks to the book The Folio of Foliage, that adapted to the new history of Sumeru. This means that Irminsul doesn't just regulate people's knowledge, but the entire reality of Teyvat. As a consequence, Teyvat itself is not real, it's just the product of people's memories. During the Samsara of the Sub-Zero's festival, even Kusanali says,
"It's even possible that this entire world is a lie, and the history of the whole world has just been one endless Sub-Zero's festival."
So she's aware of the possibility. Also, together with Rukkhadevata, we erased the forbidden knowledge from Irminsul and from existence as well, which was the whole point of the quest. Then why did people forget about Rukkhadevata but remember about Elazar even though it completely disappeared? And why is the Withery still around? Does this mean that forbidden knowledge still exists within Irminsul and that Rukkhadevata sacrificed herself for nothing again? I mean, I understand that they couldn't just remove an entire new mechanics of the game, since we weren't forced to clear all withering zones before the Archon quest, and there will probably be more of them in the unreleased sections of Sumeru, but story-wise, it's still very odd. I also want to point out that my theory in my History of Tevat Part 2 video about Lumine being responsible for the cataclysm because she gave Khaenri'ah knowledge that they weren't supposed to know suddenly became extremely valid. When it comes to Dottore, we had confirmation that he produced segments, copies of himself at different points in life. I still believe him to be something like Nagato from Naruto though. Even though he destroyed every single segment on Kusanali's demand, that Dottore is not the original one. He's still one of the segments. This means that the original Dottore is somewhere in Snezhnaya, probably now too old to be able to move, reason why he had to create segments of himself through time. And now it's time for the biggest and most obscure information we received in version 3.2, the Descenders. We learned that Irminsul retains information only about what is native to Tevat, so everything that comes from the outside, like the Traveler, doesn't exist at all. Yet Irminsul has information about Lumine, which obviously doesn't make sense. Kusanali's best guess is that she somehow belongs to this world, which still doesn't make sense. Irminsul recorded Lumine's sudden appearance in Khaenri'ah, then after the cataclysm she journeyed through the 7 nations of Tevat, but the records suddenly become fuzzy right before the conclusion of her journey. Someone is obscuring the events that took place from that moment on, and whoever this entity is so powerful that even the avatar of Irminsul can't do anything about it. So I managed to think about only one solution to this paradox. Lumine probably died when she was about to end her journey and was brought back to life by the Abyss, or better yet, by the Queen of the Kingdom of Darkness. It sounds extremely crazy, but hear me out. When someone from Tevat dies, their memories are absorbed by the ley lines and everything they knew is recorded inside Irminsul. If Lumine died in Tevat, her memories may have been absorbed by the ley lines as well, and as a consequence, Irminsul recorded everything that it could understand, that is, everything she did ever since she appeared in Khaenri'ah. Everything else is basically forbidden knowledge from Irminsul's point of view, because it pertains to something outside Tevat, so something that Irminsul can't comprehend. Lumine is then called Princess, which means that there's someone with a higher rank than her, like a queen. This queen, someone with powers beyond Tevat, brought Lumine back to life, which could be the reason why she is now very different and sides with the Abyss. But why am I talking about the Queen of the Kingdom of Darkness, you might ask? Kusanali told us that the Fatui have classified some people as Descenders, external beings that don't belong to this world. At first glance, it doesn't make sense that either one twin is considered a Descender while Lumine, the other twin, is not. But if we accept Lumine's death as a possibility, then today's Lumine cannot be considered a Descender, at least not anymore, because she was, quote-unquote, born in Tevat. There have been 4 Descenders, and Kusanagi thinks that the first Descender may be what is now called the Heavenly Principles, which could either be the 4 Shades or just the Sustainer. I personally think that the Heavenly Principles are composed of at least the Sustainer and Istaroth, because we know that both of them were in Khaenri'ah. While I'm not too sure about the third unknown shade, I do think that Phanes is not a Descender, since I believe he is the Word Tree and he created the Master Domain Tevat. Phanes was born from an egg, but he never cracked the eggshell, so he's never gone outside, and he created a microcosm inside the egg, which is Tevat, so he never descended inside Tevat, he has always been there. The second Descender may have been, at least according to me, Imulauker. I said in the History of Tevat Part 1 that I believe him to be the second heir of the kingdom among the heavens. Considering how the first heir got corrupted and now believes to be the Queen of the Kingdom of Darkness, I guess she underwent the same transformation Lumine went through, and she probably cannot be considered a Descender anymore. When it comes to the third Descender, well, your guess is as good as mine. I suppose the third Descender is whoever gave King Deshret the forbidden knowledge he used thousands of years ago, since he clearly couldn't have left Tevat to learn knowledge from the outside, so someone had to have brought it in at some point in the past. Well, that's it. I won't hide that deep down I'm not really convinced that I really understood the information we've been given, and there are also countless possibilities I couldn't possibly analyze, but that's the fun part of this all. Guessing, getting something right, getting something wrong, and trying it again. If the truth was easy to discover, we wouldn't be able to have fun theorizing. Anyway, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. If you want more Genshin Impact theory videos, consider subscribing. I'm looking forward to reading your theories and questions in the comment section, so I'll meet you there. Until next time, over and out.